Some of the worst memories of my life that I can remember are just sitting in English GCSE class and trying to hack English as a GCSE. No matter what I tried for a year and a half, I just didn't understand how to do well in English. But then I figured it out, which is why by the end of this video, you'll have the exact blueprint that I followed to jump up 3-letter grades in both English Lit and Lang. Firstly though, let me tell you a story about my English journey. As a child, I wasn't a bookworm or anything, but I would read from time to time. Fast forward to year 10 though, my school for some reason decides to put me in top set English. And trust me, I have no idea why they put me in top set English. It's not like I had potential or anything. I didn't like the subject. And my test results reflected that. Now the reason why being in top set made it worse was that we would be in class and then we'd be analyzing, let's say Macbeth or Jekyll and Hyde, and then certain students would put their hands up and start explaining the most elaborate analysis that they came up with, to the point where I would look at the text and ask myself, are we reading the same book? No matter what I tried, my brain just couldn't come up with that critical analysis that would help me get the top grades in an essay. And so by the middle of year 11, I had basically figured out all of my subjects other than English. I was getting 9s in all my other subjects, but then in English, Lit and Lang, I was getting 5s and 6s. And so I told myself that enough is enough. I needed to lock in and get the top grade in English. And that's when I went on an English GCSE rabbit hole. I tried to find every single resource on YouTube that would post about English GCSE. I could name them all. Mr. Salis, Mr. Bruff, Mr. Everything English. I could keep on going. I'd watch all of their videos and try to get something, just anything that would push me into the 7s and 8s. But then I eventually figured it out. And I ended up jumping from a 5 to an 8 in only a couple of months in both English Lit and Lang. And so here's exactly how I did it. Firstly though, if you want to know how to study for a subject, then you need to understand its composition. Here's a Venn diagram that I always use to break down subjects. You can get it along with a guide on how to use it in the second link in the description. Now looking at this Venn diagram, where do you think English would go? Well, in general, English consists of memorization and essay writing. So it would go somewhere here. Now of course, English Lit is probably going to be closer to the memorization side because of the quotes that you have to memorize and so on. But in general, they have both memorization and essay writing. Now, knowing this composition is very important because now we can craft an efficient studying routine based on these elements. So now based on these elements, here's a brief explanation on how you should revise for English. This is just a sample of what I teach in the Ultimate Guide to Acing Your GCSEs and A-Levels. If you're a GCSE or A-Level student, then this program is exactly what you need to jump up 3 grades in the next couple of months with no tutor required. You firstly get the updated video program. It's around an hour and a half of content that teaches you exactly what you need from step A to Z to get the top grades. We go through how to break down subjects and then how to craft efficient studying techniques based on the elements, and then a notes masterclass, a flashcards masterclass, a doing practice questions masterclass. And on top of that, modules about other things like external revision and lifestyle optimization. Now, a new addition to the program is our new service, a personalized study plan just for you. You tell us what subjects you take and we'll create a personalized study plan just for you, so you don't have to waste time with trial and error. Now, don't take it from me. Look at these students who have taken the program and found insane benefit. So if you want to jump up 3 grades before the exam season with no tutor required, then click the first link in the description. Okay, so now how do we study for English based on its elements? Let's first start with the memorization side. If you want to memorize anything, then you need to understand 2 concepts, active recall and spaced repetition. Now, I've explained them many times on my channel and you probably know what they are, but in short, active recall involves engaging with information instead of just passively reading and highlighting, and then spaced repetition is basically doing the active recall but at spaced intervals. For example, every 2 weeks. Now, any efficient memorization technique is going to involve these 2. There's no way around it. Now, the easiest way of implementing both active recall and spaced repetition is just using flashcards. Let's say you're revising Macbeth. You can first start by making flashcards based on the quotes and the themes that you need to memorize, and that implements active recall because you're making your own flashcards. Then you could go through those flashcards every week or 2 weeks, and that implements spaced repetition. Now, I can guarantee you that if you make flashcards and then go through them once every 2 weeks, you'll have all of the quotes needed memorized like the back of your hand. Now, that's a brief explanation of the memorization side, but the part that students struggle with the most is not memorization. It's actually the essay writing side of English. Now, English has a very big problem that I've personally struggled with in my GCSE years, which is, since it's an essay-based subject, then there's an element of subjectivity. For example, in maths, if you get a question right, then you know that you followed the right steps and gotten the right answer. And if you get it wrong, then you know that somewhere in your working out, you messed up. English, on the other hand, is subjective. For example, let me tell you a story. I had a friend who was in a different set. So I was in the top set, he was in a, I guess, below set. And so he had a different teacher to me. I'd write an essay and he'd write an essay. And he would sometimes show me his work. And I'm not joking when I say that his essay was levels below mine. And I'm not trying to be overconfident or anything, but anyone could agree his essay just wasn't that good. But then I asked him, what did he get on this essay? And he told me that his teacher gave him an 8. And that shocked me because my work was a lot better than his. And yet my teacher would give me 6s. And so English has an element of subjectivity. One teacher could like an essay more than another teacher. And so how do we get rid of this subjectivity? Well, this is the best solution I've found so far, which is you have to ask as many teachers as possible for feedback. I'm assuming that even if you only have one teacher teaching you, that your school has multiple teachers that teach English. So next time you write a practice essay, don't only go to your teacher for feedback. Try to go to as many teachers as possible in your school and ask them all for feedback. And even if they don't teach you, there's a very low chance that they say, no, go ask your teacher. Just say, oh, would you mind if you give me feedback for this essay? I wanted as many opinions as possible. Now, once you get all the essays back and you look at the feedback from all the other teachers, then you start comparing. You start seeing what feedback is common amongst all of the teachers and what feedback is more individual. One teacher might include it while the other might not. Now, the feedback that's common to all of the teachers, or at least most of them, the feedback that you see the most often, that's what you need to implement. Now, what's the logic behind this? Well, you need to understand that your GCSE paper is also going to be marked by a teacher, an examiner, and you don't know what they're going to be like. So you need to be as mass appealing as possible so that the biggest number of teachers like your essay. And so that increases the likelihood that when you write an essay and it goes to the examiner and they mark it, they like it and they give it an 8 or a 9. That's not the only benefit though. You're also increasing the amount of feedback you're getting per practice question. And so imagine if you write a practice essay and then you give it to your teacher, they give you feedback, and then you implement that feedback. You're only getting feedback from one teacher. But then imagine that for that same practice question, you ask 4 teachers. You're getting feedback from 4 different teachers. You're now quadrupling the amount of feedback that you're getting, which means you're quadrupling the amount of improvement that you can make at every practice question that you do, which means that you're improving more with the same amount of work. And so to sum it up, if you want to revise efficiently for English and get the top grades, then you need to focus on both the memorization and essay writing side. For the memorization side, you just need to grind flashcards. And then for the essay writing side, you practice questions and get feedback from as many teachers as possible. And if you want to jump up 3 grades in all of your subjects with no tutor required, then click the first link in the description and get the ultimate guide to acing your GCSEs and A-levels.